Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Laura. We are currently sailing on board Cunard's Queen Anne on a 7-day voyage, and today is a port day.
This is day 6 of our 7-night cruise, so if you don't want to miss everything else that we've been up to on board, please make sure you subscribe to our channel.
We are going to start the video today with a disclaimer that we do not know how to pronounce the name of this port correctly. We have heard various different pronunciations, including Gijón, Gijón and Gijón, so we may say it wrong numerous times. We are very, very sorry that this may happen.
Our day started at 9:15 with a knock at the door from the room service breakfast that we'd ordered the night before. As we'd said in our previous video, we did put this card out a little bit later than the 1 AM required, so we weren't sure if it would actually arrive, and we ended up with this breakfast arriving 15 minutes earlier than planned.
The food that arrived that was supposed to be hot was very, very hot, so we were really surprised by this. We had ordered ourselves like 2 cooked breakfasts, which had got sausage, hash browns, mushrooms on, and then I had ordered a side of toast and a bagel, and Laura had ordered an English muffin and a pastry.
Yes. However, the muffin that arrived was actually like a blueberry muffin rather than an English muffin, and I definitely indicated this in the correct section, and we didn't receive the toast that we ordered either. So we were missing a couple of items from the breakfast. We weren't too disappointed at this though, because we were still a little bit full up from our late night room service, so didn't really need this breakfast.
Once we had eaten breakfast and got ourselves ready, we headed down to the Corinthian lounge for a drink before getting off the ship. We decided that there was no rush today to get off, as we had heard that there wasn't much to do in the port, and we enjoyed sitting and relaxing for a good half hour or so.
We then headed off the ship, and there were shuttle buses in operation today, as Gijón is an industrial port, so it's not recommended to walk through the port area without using the transfer service. This shuttle bus service was supposed to take around about 30 minutes. That's what was detailed in all of the information. However, it was shorter than that, definitely.
The transfer from the port to the drop-off point took less than 20 minutes. And as soon as we got off the coach, we were pleasantly surprised by what we could see. We were dropped in a pretty little harbour, which looked beautiful, especially as once again the sun was shining.
We hadn't got any particular plans for today, so we just started taking a stroll through the main square. We really wanted to enjoy a bit of the sunshine, and as we were walking, we came across some Roman baths, which we did not know were here, and the entry to this was free, so we popped in and had a look around.
It was really interesting to see this archaeological site of the Roman baths, at what they had found. It isn't the whole site that you can visit, lots of it is still covered up, but it's definitely worth going in and having a look. Just a little warning, there is a point where the ceiling is very low, so if you are tall it can be a bit uncomfortable.
There were no issues at all for me, however, and I was able to stand up without having to bend over at all.
We then left the Roman baths and we wanted to go and have a look in the church. However, today is All Saints' Day, which is a public holiday in Spain, so there was mass actually happening at the moment. We didn't feel comfortable going in there while mass was happening, so we left and just went for a walk towards the fort area.
The walk up to the fort was another quite steep walk. However, there was a good solid path on this walk, so it wasn't difficult to do. There were quite a few people up and around in that area doing that walk. We could hear various tour groups and things like that up there, and it is definitely worth doing the walk if you can manage it, because there are some great views across the town and harbour area.
We then walked back down towards the town. We walked down a different way than we walked up. We wanted to go and try and find a bar to sit in, as we knew that the area was famous for its cider. However, because it is a public holiday, all of the bars were very, very full. Because of it being a public holiday as well, there were lots of shops that were closed. So that's just something to note. If you're ever in Spain on All Saints' Day, you may come across those issues.
We spent a couple of hours actually wandering around, and we were pleasantly surprised at how much there was to see and how pretty the area itself was. There were some really nice looking beaches as well, and there were lots of locals on there using them. And we can imagine that when summer is in full swing, they would be very, very busy.
We actually really enjoyed spending a bit of time just looking out at the beach because there were lots of dogs having great fun on the beach, and it was just a really good atmosphere around because obviously people were enjoying their holiday.
It was around 2 o'clock-ish when we decided to head back to the ship, as like we said, we weren't able to get a seat anywhere to have a drink or anything to eat, and we were getting a bit peckish by now, so we headed back down towards where we'd been dropped off by the shuttle bus, and we spotted quite a large queue. We expected to be in the queue for quite some time as it was particularly long. However, we were actually only queuing for around about 10 minutes. There were plenty of buses arriving, and we were then back at the ship by around about 2:30.
When we pulled up on the coach, we expected to have a very long wait now to get back on the ship, as 3 shuttle buses all arrived at the same time, and we could already see people getting off in front of us. In the port of Gijón, you go through security first. This was very fast and efficient, and there were 2 gangways set up for you to get back onto the ship. We were straight through security, straight on the ship, and it actually only took about 10 minutes, which really surprised us because we've stood in queues of lengths like that before where it has taken us about half an hour.
Once we were back on the ship, we were keen to head for lunch. At this time of day on board the ship, there isn't that much open for lunch, so we headed to the poolside grill. We definitely weren't the only ones who had this idea, and as we arrived there, it was quite busy. We placed our order and were given a buzzer, and it did take about 20 minutes for our food to be ready. We were told it would take 20 minutes when placing the order, so there were no surprises for us.
While we were waiting, we sat and had a drink on deck 10, which is where the wellness cafe is. It's easier often to get a seat up there than it is in the pavilion down on deck 9. When our buzzer went, we went down to get the food, and we once again enjoyed it. I went for the same thing as I had before and had an alpine burger with some Cajun fries and onion rings. It was very, very hot as it had just been freshly cooked and was well needed.
And I also had the same thing that I had before, which was the chicken burger. This time I also did have some of the Cajun fries as well as a few onion rings. And again, because it's freshly prepared, the food is nice and hot and it is a great tasting burger.
After we had finished our food, we decided to just stay sitting there for a while, and we commented about how hot we were getting in there. And then, to our delight, they decided to open the roof. This made it a lot fresher feeling in there and gave us that real holiday feeling. Having the sun on us made us then fancy an ice cream, so we popped into the buffet where there are some self-serve soft ice creams. We both had a vanilla cone, which we really enjoyed.
We then sat and relaxed outside in the sun for a little bit and just enjoyed the nice weather and having a bit of downtime, as it does feel like it's been quite a busy cruise once again, before heading back to the room to get ready for the evening.
Tonight we decided that we were going to try and get into the main dining room even earlier, so we didn't meet for a drink beforehand. We headed straight to the dining room and met there at 7:15. Again, we were taken straight to a table. However, there was a little bit of confusion as both of the staff working on the desk pressed the enter button at the same time, so we were given the same table as another couple. However, the waiters guiding us to the table spotted this before we had taken any steps, and it was very quickly rectified.
We both had the same starter tonight, which was a lamb pasta dish. This was, I thought, really tasty. The only thing I didn't like in it was that there were olives and capers in the sauce.
I thought it was really tasty. I'm not a fan of olives, but it didn't cause me any problem. I just left them to the side. I then had, surprisingly, a Caesar salad for my next course. Again, it was enjoyable. It seemed to be a slightly bigger portion tonight than what I have had, so I did actually leave a little bit of it.
And for my next course, I had what was described as a miso mushroom tea. It was another consommé, essentially, with some mushrooms in it. I wasn't that keen on this one because I've had a very strong garlic flavour. So I had a little bit of it, but didn't finish that off. I then had what's probably been my favourite main in the main dining room on this cruise, and it was described as chicken with mango and sweet peppers in a coconut sauce, something like that. But it was basically a chicken katsu curry with a prettier name. I really enjoyed this. It was cooked really nicely and the flavours were really good.
And I had a portobello mushroom Kiev. I did not really enjoy this very much. It was very bland and there wasn't a lot of taste to it. It said that the potatoes were crushed mint. It was so faint you could barely taste it. There wasn't much garlic inside it and it was all just a bit samey tasting. However, I really enjoyed my dessert, which was an orange sorbet. The orange flavour was really intense in it and is probably the nicest dessert I've eaten on a cruise.
I couldn't decide what I wanted for my dessert. There were two that I fancied on the menu. There was a pear tart tatin and a chocolate cheesecake on there. And in the end, I just decided to order both. I really enjoyed both of them and surprisingly probably would have chosen the pear tart tatin looking at it again.
The service tonight in the dining room was much quicker. We didn't seem to have any of those big massive pauses that we'd had on other nights. We also managed to get 2 drinks after Tom flagged the sommelier down as they walked past us. So this was much better service tonight than what we have had on some previous nights. We were very pleased that the service was quicker because we really wanted to get to the Queen's room as Jon Courtenay was performing tonight and we didn't manage to get to see him last time. So we headed straight from dinner to the Queen's room, which once again was extremely busy.
As usual in the Queen's room, there was some music and dancing happening before the comedian was on, so it was absolutely packed. We had to sort of bide our time and wait for this performance to finish before we could get a table. We were really lucky to get a table in there because there were, by the time Jon Courtenay started, once again it was standing room only and there were a lot of people standing around the edges of the venue.
The rest of the audience really liked him. There was a table not very far away from us that were in absolute stitches and they really entertained us with all their laughing. We weren't able to stay to the end of his set as we really wanted to go to the theatre tonight because tonight there was a full cast performance on.
The show in the Royal Court Theatre tonight was called Let's Dance and it was performed by the full Royal Court Theatre Company. Again, it was a pretty busy theatre, but there were probably a few seats dotted around, so if you did come in to this one a little bit later, you would have probably got a seat in there. We enjoyed this performance, and one thing it did sort of highlight for us was how strong the cast on board are. They do all seem to be able to sing, dance and act, which is very impressive.
At this point, I headed back to the cabin because I wanted to change what I was wearing as I was starting to feel a bit uncomfortable in it, which is why we always overpack just in case of situations like that. I then went and found everybody else who was sitting in the chart room and was excited to hear that instead of them ordering a drink off the menu, the waitress had said, "Do you want a surprise?" And she was bringing 4 fruity flavoured cocktails over to us and no one had an idea of what they were going to be.
When the drinks arrived, we really enjoyed them. We suspected it was a porn star martini and we were correct. This drink is not on the menu in any of the bars that we've noticed. So it was really good that we were able to have an off-menu drink and that this was available within the drinks package that we've got. We really enjoyed this so much that we had 2 more each and stayed in the chart room until closing.
At last orders, when we were offered another drink, we all ordered some water as well. When you order water on board, if you've got a drinks package, they will often give you a really large bottle and it's great because then obviously you can take it back to the cabin with you. We suspected it was going to be the last drink of the night, however we were wrong as we decided to head into the Bright Light Society for the late night disco. When we arrived in Bright Light Society, we were surprised to see how busy it was. It was the busiest we'd seen it so far on the cruise. There were lots of people dancing, chatting and enjoying themselves, and we sat down with some fellow passengers and had a good laugh and 1 more drink before we headed back to the cabin. It was so busy in there that we had to go to the bar to order a drink, and that was the first time in there we'd had to do that. Tom and myself went to the bar to get our drinks, and for the first time with this cruise we got told we couldn't order all the drinks on just our 2 cards, and we needed to come back over and get the other cards to prove that we weren't buying other people these drinks.
We headed back to our cabins just after 2 a.m. and it was about 20 past 2 when we ordered room service again. We'd vowed the night before that we weren't going to do it again after that first try, but we couldn't resist and we were a bit peckish at this point. We just ordered 2 pizzas this time. We had pepperoni and a margherita. I actually quite enjoyed the pepperoni. I thought it was a bit better than the margherita pizza that I'd had the night before. And the margherita was just pretty much exactly the same as it had been previously. The room service did warn us that it was going to take about 40 minutes to come, and it was a bit quicker than promised.
We have had a lovely day today. We were pleasantly surprised by the port, and we really like a wander around somewhere new that we haven't been to before. Our time on the ship tonight has been great fun, managing to see some good entertainment and enjoying the company of our fellow passengers and trying some new drinks.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and drop any questions you've got in the comments down below. Please do also make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. You can also find us on social media by searching Sisters on the Seas.